Welcome back to some more Umineko when they cry. So, where we last left off, Rosa just wrapped up no, I wouldn't say the retelling of the story because it just feels like it's like the same situation of what happened within her past, you know, over a decade and a half to what happened, how it occurred with how she met Beatrice and the such. Although it's still weird to me how there was like, oh, there's three types of Beatrice. I thought there was like the all-in-one type of thing in mind. So it's like what? There's like multiple it's just split. There's like individual personalities and such. But so far, no, not anything special, you know. So it's not like Rosa is the culprit at all. And then the only time we're gonna get information is we gotta meet with Kinzo directly, in which that's how Willard did it. Although with Kinzo's, backstory, it does I don't know what he's been through, but is so but we can't really deny his bel can't deny his belief. So who know we're we're not allowed to understand it, but we can't deny it after all, so it's although the whole Beatrice meme is when it comes to Kinzo it can be half it is half funny, half, something to feel bad for. All right, there's also Shannon, although with what happened, it's like the usual conversation between Shannon and Willard was kind of weird. It looked like Shannon was mind controlled for a moment. I don't know. It's nothing really of interest, in all honesty. Anyway, let's continue. At that moment, there was a quiet sound of the door closing. When they turned around, Gio was already there. Kumasawa had appeared.
そこまでをご存知でしたら、もうすべてをお話ししてもよろしいのではありませんか。
そこまでを知るなら、これ以上何も語ることなどないとも思うが。
いいえ、語るべきでございます。私は女として、クアドリアンのベアトリーチェ様のお心を誰かに伝えねばと思って参りました。そしてその資格を持つ人間が現れました。今こそ全てを包み隠さずお話しすべき時かと存じます。
Yeah, y'all been holding back for several episodes. Now we can actually hear the details. He's like,
熊沢さんは知っているのですか？ベアトリーチェのことを。
知ってるだろう。第4のゲームの時、連絡船の船長は熊沢がクワドリアンに出入りしていたことを証言している。おそらく熊沢は屋敷とクワドリアンの双方で異なる勤務シフトを持っていたに違いない。若い娘の世話だ。育児経験の豊富な熊沢はさぞ重宝されただろ
う。さようでございます。乳母であったとおっしゃっていただいてもよろしいかと思います。
Her wet nurse.
そんな、信じられない。本当にウィルさんの話は本当なんですか？
はい、 事実でございます。ベアトリーチェ様のために島の反対側に建てられた秘密の屋敷。クワドリアンの存在は真実でございます。
金蔵が正妻といつ結婚したかは知らねえが、当時すでに莫大な財産を持ち、六軒島を丸ごと買い取った金蔵は、交わらぬ2つの屋敷を建てて、そこに2つの生活を両立させたんだ。
Kinzo's children had also been aware of Kinzo's clandestine eccentricities at the time. It probably hadn't been easy to maintain two separate lives. Moreover, Kinzo's wife had been suspicious and had sniffed around all the time. Not easy to maintain two separate lives? Really? Even with a big number of servants available?
親方様はお時間の許す限りクワドリアンへ通われました。
Like, well, I'm pretty sure Beatrice is not the official wife, then I don't know where the fuck his official wife is, honestly. Or the name of it. Even updating character? Well, oh. Right. There's Leon, but where the fuck is Jessica? Which side? I see. I like how Battler's on there, but it doesn't really say. I guess I'm sure it just gets showed up later on, I guess.
時にはご出張と偽られ、何日も滞在され、ベアトリーチェ様との生活を大切になさいました。それは親子としての関係だけでなく、亡きベアトリーチェ様への深い愛を垣間見れる心温まるものでございましたとも。
それは亡きベアトリーチェの代用品として扱ったこともあったと言っているようにも聞こえるな。
おや、そう聞こえたなら申し訳ございません。ベアトリーチェ様は父からの愛は一身に受けられていたでしょう。しかし時にご自身に理解できぬ愛を強いられていたことは否定できません。
Kumasawa's tone made it sound as though she was scolding Kinzo. As a mother who had raised many kids, Kumasawa had probably spotted that Kinzo's love was sometimes misplaced. However, the more she grew to look like her mother, the more distorted and twisted Kinzo's heart became. Because of his deep love, it grew very, very twisted.
なじれ、我が友よ。わかっておる。我が愛は永遠に不滅。なれど、それが間違った相手に注がれたことがあったの。私は認めねばならぬ。
The love is misplaced and also a misunderstanding. Good lord.
おじいさま、そんな、まさか。
リオン様、世の中のすべての人間には必ず何かの縁がございます。身に覚えがなくとも必ず何かの縁がございます。その縁が人に絡みつき 引き寄せるのでございます。
そんなおじい様。
Just as Kinzo had done, Leon also wiped away tears and stared down at the floor. Apparently, the truth had been too much of a shock for the young successor to handle. Leon can't handle the truth.
親方様、もう語る時ではございませんか。
そうか。その時が来たか。我が友よ。
あんたが語らなきゃ何も真実は明らかにならない。
Yeah, you can.
親方様、もはや知る権利と資格があるかと思います。
Yeah, we have already gotten this far.
分かっている。今日という私の気まぐれな葬儀に天のベアトリーチェが贖罪の機会を与えたのだろう。今日まで話さなかったことを許せ。
After taking a deep breath, Kinzo finally lowered the hands that had been covering his face and looked at Will and Leon with those red eyes.
おじい様。
リオンも聞け。客人よ。ウィラードと言ったか。
ああ、
この私が自らの口より真実を話せるうちにこの機会を設けてくれたことを感謝する。お前はきっとベアトリーチェより使わされた天の使いに違いない。感謝する。
The messenger from heaven sent by... I don't know if Beatrice sent him, directly, but... Just,
その機会を設けたのはベアトリーチェじゃねえ。どこぞの魔女だ。いや、どっちも魔女には違いね。
お前が誰でもよい。私に機会を与えた。それで十分だ。感謝するぞ、ウィラードとやら。
Kinzo slowly stood up and held out his right hand. He was offering to shake hands. It must have been Kinzo's way of expressing his gratitude. Will responded. Then the two hands gripped each other tightly in silence. When they did, a bright light poured out from the gap between the two hands. Will felt as though something the size of a grain had burned itself into his palm. It was the power that Burn Castle had given him. The light grew brighter and brighter. However, it seemed that Kinzo and the others couldn't see it.
今こそ語ろう。私がベアトリーチェに、ベアトリーチェ・カスティリオーニに出会ったのは終戦間際。
Beatrice Castiglione. Notice the name Leone. Is that got...
彼女は海の向こうからやってきた。
Why am I getting this really weird feeling? Beatrice Castiglione. Feel like there's some sort of puzzle involved with this. Oh shit. We're going through. No words. I can't even tell if this guy is either middle-aged or is just some young dude with like silverish gray hair.
お前は金蔵なのか？
Are we going back to the past?
昔のおじい様です。写真で見たことがあります。これは一体。
ベルン・カステルのくれた感激者の力だ。無理に理解するな。
頭痛になら
分かってきたな。
At one time, Genji told Battler that he looked like Kinzo in his youth. Sure enough, though the young Kinzo wasn't exactly the same as Battler, they looked very similar. He does... The face looks so similar, though. Or, you know, maybe it's like, you know, a little bit of a doppelganger, if you ask me. They look very similar.
改めて名乗ろう。私が後宮金蔵である。
You're Kinzo? But why does your voice sound like Battler?
おじい様。
Even the voice seemed to resemble Battler somehow. Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, bruh. Clearly, Battler had inherited Kinzo's blood more thickly than any other.
私は後宮家など継ぎたくはなかった。私が当主に選ばれたのは運命のいたずらに過ぎぬのだ。
関東大震災で主だった者が死に絶え、分家筋のお前が抜擢された。
そうです。おじい様は若くとも聡明な方で、当主にふさわしい貫禄を若くしてお持ちの方でしたから。
とんでもない。欲深な長老たちは互いの利益ばかりを主張し合い、新しい当主を選び出すことさえできなかったのだ。まるで沈みゆく船で新しき船長は誰かと議論するような愚かさよ。
Seems, I guess it's like the same thing when it comes to who's going to be elected the new king or president or something like that.
だからこそ本家の誰ともしがらみのないお前が突然に抜擢を受けた。
全てはこの足の指のせいだ。足の指が一本ずつ足りなかったなら、我が人生は全く異なるものになっていたであろう。
All right, the total of 12 toes. In the Ushiromiya family, polydactyly, whatever you call it, was seen as a mark of good fortune. After all, many of the great ones in their family history have possessed it.
くだらぬ話よ。長老どもは自分たちの誰も得をしない馬の骨であれば誰でもよかった。
たまたま分家筋に両足の指が6本ある者がいると耳に入り、それでいいと決まったわけか。
そういうことだ。長老どもは自分たちの操り人形になるなら次期当主などどこの青二歳でもよかったのだ。むしろ帝王学に無知な人間ほど好ましい。
The more this person was ignorant leadership, better it would be for...
おじい様。
リオン、お前は違う。お前は我が全てを受け継ぐものだ。
You are fated to inherit everything.
お前が生を受けた日より、それは運命づけられていた。だからこそ、お前に銀の指輪を与え、厳しく育ててきた。そなたは、私とは違う。誰にも恥じることのない、立派な当主跡継ぎであるぞ。
はい。
操り人形の当主か。気楽なものじゃねえだろうな。
As he pondered about where to begin, Kinzo laughed bitterly. It would probably bring back painful memories no matter where he started from.
あれは、あまりに長い長い灰色の日々であった。それは私には、岩に蒸す苔のような、気の遠くなるほど長い長い死んだ時間。
I became the rope in the tug of war between the elders, who thought of nothing but their own profit, and I probably could have snapped at any moment. However, people are far more resilient than one would think. Though I spent so many days as though I had been killed, I was not killed. So I was forced to search for death on my own. Huh, different. Is this the same track or is it different? Before I realized it, I had reached an age at which the young would laugh at me if I tried to call myself young. That dizzyingly long stretch of gray was left completely empty. It lasted for a full 20 years. In 20 years, a person can be born, find a purpose, and even become their own man with their own place in the world. In short, if one truly becomes a human only when they have become a working adult, then I spent a period of time long enough to create a human, doing nothing but playing the part of those greedy elders' puppet. Ironically, though that time aged my body, it did not age my mind. My mind alone was still as young as it had been during those rich, happy days before I was summoned to Odawara. And yet, my body alone grew older and older. Eventually, the vast gap between the two reached almost incomprehensible levels. So, I could hardly believe that the worn out man in the mirror was really me. No, it really wasn't me. The head of the Ushiromiya family was just a name. It had no power. It didn't require that I have any independence. There was no need for me to get involved with anything. I was just a doll sitting there on the doll rack, gathering dust. Interesting background. Flashback of sort. I remember nothing but lazily flipping through Western books I liked, locking myself up inside my own world, doing nothing but playing with roses, drinking terrible drinks. And it lasted a full 20 years. Before I knew it, I suddenly had a wife I did not know. It wasn't any wife I had chosen. It was the daughter of some noble family that the elders had chosen and forced on me for their own reasons. But that did not matter to me. I did not love my wife, but neither did I dislike her. It's, okay. I just didn't care. I fathered a few children, but that wasn't out of love for my wife. They were just born before I knew it. That's all there was to it. None of it mattered. No, that's not quite right. Everything was decided by someone other than me, and I simply obeyed. That was the job the Ushiromiya family had.
ああ、このまま自分は静かに殺されるなと、うっすらと感じていた。
信じられません。強胆なる名君と称えられたおじい様がそのような日々を送っていたなんて。
リオンよ、自ら生きぬ人生ほど希薄で長いものはない。なのにそれはあっという間に過ぎ去るのだ。心せよ。
自ら生きる人生。
生きるってことは意志を持つということだ。殺された日々だったろうよ。
そうだ。私は生きたかった。いや、死にたかった。操り人形はどうすれば死ねる。
So you were in a puppet to where you don't like the burdens of the responsibilities to put up with to where you wanted to die, huh?
意図を断ち切ることです。
You want to be free at last.
そうだ。それが死ぬことであり、生きることであり、解放だ。
Before I realized it, trouble was brewing in the world. World War II, the Pacific War. Japan had extended their war fronts too far to the east and west, and the tide of war was changing. Thanks to the influence of the elders, I was able to avoid conscription. I guess that would be a good background. Of course, this was not out of compassion for me. It was because I was their precious puppet. So, I guess, despite how shady Kinzo is, he was also the victim of everything. So, the war never really felt that close to me. However, when I personally decided to abandon their protection, it was very easy. At that time, the Ushiromiya family had almost completely collapsed. And since the elders had apparently gathered enough of the scraps to last them the rest of their lives, they seemed to care little for what I did. Excuse me, now that they no longer had any use for me. So, I realized that I had finally found my time to die. One by one, I cut the threads I was hanging from and began to search for a place to end my life.
戦地で死を求めようとしたのか。
同じ死ぬなら誰かの役に立つべきと思った。いや、違うな。私には自らの命を絶つ気力さえなかったのだろう。もっともらしく死ねる理由が戦争だったのだ。
おじい様は土木建築の知識がありましたので、海軍設営隊にて施設造成などに従事されたと聞いています。
とんだ誤算よ。何の取り柄もないと言っておけば、すぐにも死ねる最前線へ送られたものを。
So you rather want to be drafted into the military instead of having to be a fucking puppet.
最前線に行かずに済んだのか。
幸いと喜ぶ仲間もいたよ。 私には逆だった。戦って死ぬという出来すぎた美酒の焼け酒が欲しかっただけなのだ。忘れられた島の上空を米軍の編隊は横切っていくだけ。彼らは私のために爆弾一つどころか鉛玉の一つさえ恵んではくれなかったのだよ。
おじい様はその日々の中でベアトリーチェにお会いになられたのですか？
そうだ。あれは海からやってきた。
どこで会った？島と言ったが。
ここだよ。
The island of Rokkenjima?
この島にやってきたのだ。
Wild.
お前たちはロッケン島で出会っていたというのか？
どういうことですか？おじい様がロッケン島を買い取るまでは無人島だったと聞いています。この島に日本軍の基地があったなどとは初耳です。
そうだな。あんなものは基地とは呼ばぬ。ただの岩窟よ。私はその岩窟の番人だったのだ。
It wouldn't make sense for a Rokkenjima being like a remote island during like the military era. But I didn't even know that beforehand. I thought it's like I thought Rokkenjima was used to be like some sort of a island resort. But 1944. Due to the honorable defeats at Saipan and Guam, Japan's absolute national defense zone strategy was in shambles. Where had the gallantry shown at Pearl Harbor gone? Oh, I guess we're getting some bit of our World War II references in this one. You know, it's been so long since I've studied the World War II. Like, this was like during like the school era at the time. The old attackers were now the ones on the defensive. At that time, it was said that the last trump card for the Japanese military was a type of manned torpedo known as the Kaiten. It was said that these ultimate weapons, packed with 1.55 tons of explosives, were capable of sinking any kind of warship with a single blast. To strengthen homeland defense, the Navy drafted a plan to build a string of hidden bases from Hachijo Island to Yokosuka, all to house submarines loaded with Kaiten torpedoes.
八丈島に基地が作られたことは知っていました。しかしそれがロッケン島にもあったなんて。
どこの間抜けがこんな何もない島に作ろうと言い出したやら。一苦情の都合バカバカしい。お上の考えることなどわからぬし、私にとってもどうでもいいことだった。
I mean, you can make a hidden base within the depths of the forest if you have to. The Kaiten, which could finish off a large warship with a single strike, truly was an ultimate weapon. It was hoped that the presence of submarines capable of loading these weapons in the waters just off of Japan would allow for a powerful sea ambush as a final line of defense. So, to aid in the establishment of the base with absolute secrecy, the uninhabited island Rokkenjima was raised as a possible candidate. An investigation of the island resulted in the discovery of a large cave in the cliffs, and this was apparently deemed to be a suitable location for a submarine base.
お前はその基地の建設に関わったわけか。
建設？岩窟を掘り広げただけを建設と呼ぶならな。しかもその上、基地は未完成のまま放置されたのだから。
どうしてです？
当時の日本にそいつを詰めるほどの大型潜水艦はもう残っていなかったのよ。滑稽な話だ。潜水艦もないのに潜水艦基地など今さら必要なものか。役人の無意味な箱物作りは今も昔も変わらぬよ。
True. There are politicians. I guess the generalization when it comes to politicians are they can be pretty lazy with and just making meaningless projects that doesn't really improve the quality of life. The base on Hachijo Island was outfitted with Python torpedoes and became a base for direct attacks, but Rokkenjima was never supplied with any. Furthermore, the construction was eventually suspended, and a minimum number of men were stationed on the island, waiting for orders from above that never came. Could the fact that it was a hidden base actually have sealed our fate? The higher-ups had already completely forgotten about this useless and pointless cavern. We were nothing more than guards in a mere cave. We spent our days farming, fishing, and playing dirt, all the while gazing up at the American formations flying past. Some of our group were relieved at the prospects of the war ending before anyone remembered we were here, and before any of us had to face a real battle. Of course, it was the opposite for me. I hoped and hoped for the American troops to advance and kill me as soon as possible. Those days were empty and blank. Let us go back to the turning point in my life and my fate. The time that Ushiramiya Kinzo finally became truly alive. So, Kinzo backstory was involved at... I guess when it comes to Kinzo, I don't know if him being like he was like summoned to be a part of the military, but I guess it's close enough as is. Oh, we're on chapter 4. Salo Republic. Stars seemed to spin around inside my head. I could just lie down on the floor, but that'd only make him more angry. I've got no intention of being obedient. Still, it'll be stupid to get myself punched for no reason, so I got up and stood at attention. The fighting's close, is it? You really think the American troops are likely to show up on this forgotten island? Then let them come right now. That's what I've been waiting for all this time.
貴様、そんなに死にたくないか。そんなに米兵が恐ろしいか。そんな気合では撃ち取れんぞ。
I got hit again. Could you please quit your whining already? Filthy cowards. They let themselves be controlled by this inexplicable anger because it's the only way to distract themselves from their own fear. Heart and spirit aren't of any use when the battle becomes hopeless. When trapped by an insurmountable hopelessness, humans tend to rely on several other emotions to escape their fear. For these young, inexperienced soldiers, anger was a very convenient emotion to fall back upon. You know, this might as well be the thumbnail for like the entirety of episode 7, considering how colorful this is. Anger is the wine they used to paralyze their fear. It made them chant, "Damn the British, damn the Americans," as they swung their bamboo spears around and called it drilling. The more wine you drink, the more you need to drink to get drunk. Their useless anger continued to pile up day after day without pause. I did not fear death, so I had no need of the wine called anger. They made their cowardice all the more apparent to me.
その目つきだ。後ろ宮、貴様の魂は腐りきっておるわ。魚だ。貴様の目は死んだ魚の目だ。
However, it went both ways. Just as I was able to spot their cowardice, they were able to pick up on my lethargy.
後ろには金蔵はいるか。注意殿がお呼びだ。立て。もたもたするな。駆け足。
First, Lieutenant Yamamoto was the commanding officer in charge of the Rokkenjima garrison. He was just another filthy coward trying to get his fear with violence, and would often reprimand his subordinates for slacking off at the drop of a hat. Whenever he was in a good mood and started spouting off stories of his life, they were all about how much of a thug he had been, ignoring the rules of society. On and on about how so-and-so was a prick, so he taught him a lesson, or how everyone was so scared of him that he got special treatment. You know, judging from the cave, it does look like it's some sort of like an underground military base of sort. Because I can tell from episode 4, it's like, oh, I thought it was a dungeon at first, but no, it's like seems like, you know, could be the military base that was used back in the World War II era. He kept on talking about what a vile human he was, as though it was a badge of honor. Normally, I had nothing to do with this lieutenant who I couldn't respect in any way. He'd always hang around with his non-commissioned subordinates, so as long as I treated him with a snappy salute, I could more or less ignore him for the time being. Now that the construction project on this island has been suspended indefinitely, there's no longer any use for an engineer like me. So why did the lieutenant ask to see me specifically? At that moment, I couldn't think of anything.
後ろ宮。貴様外国語が堪能であると聞いたが事実であるか。
Oh hey, guess this is a different background this time.
英語と中国語を話せるであります。注意殿。
The lieutenant liked to brag about his education in front of the non-commissioned officers, but he held a bit of a grudge against me for being even more highly educated than him. Since he also felt uncomfortable about having a subordinate who was older than him. I wasn't exactly the type he'd be willing to confide in. I'm half asleep, don't mind me. Just the fact that I knew several languages must have hurt his pride.
ならばイタリア語はどうか。
わかりません。
では貴様にイタリア人との通訳は務まらんというわけか。
英語を喋れる者がいれば可能と思います。
なるほど、確かに。貴様外国人と英語で話した経験はあるのか。
あります。
Why on earth would he need an interpreter in a cave on an uninhabited island that even our superiors forgot about? His question made it clear that some guest had arrived on Rokkenjima who would need an interpreter.
よし。後ろ宮、貴様を俺の通訳に命ずる。
That evening, I found out exactly what he was talking about. Well, this is actually pretty interesting. That pointless... Man, look at all these new backgrounds that we get from this episode that can be used as... That pointless submarine dock in the cavern that had never been used was now being approached slowly by a submarine of the Italian Navy. Of course, I knew that the Italians were our allies. However, this was the first time I'd seen anything from their military with my own eyes.
どうしてイタリア軍が？確か1943年にイタリアは降伏しているはずです。これはどういうことでしょう？
降伏したのはイタリア王国だ。だが、それを受け入れない者たちは親独政権 RSI を樹立させ、戦争を続けたのだ。
RSI
イタリア社会共和国、別名サロ共和国だ。
Oh, so we're actually getting some, you know, a history lore dump about the Salo Republic.
詳しいな。何も知らぬ者は、イタリアは枢軸国の中で1943年にいち早く降伏した腰抜けなどと呼んでいるが、それは間違いだ。イタリア社会共和国軍は開戦から1945年4月29日まで勇敢に戦ったのだ。
ベルリン降伏はその3日後だ。腰抜けどころか大健闘だな。しかし RSI 海軍が日本まで航行できるような潜水艦を持っていたとは驚きだ。
そうでなくともはるばる日本までやってきたこと自体が驚きです。彼らがなぜ日本に？ロッケン島に？
Yeah, that's... I wonder why the... I wonder... Okay, hold on. What? I wonder why the Italians want to visit Rokkenjima. Oh boy. The submarine was both weather-worn and massive. I doubt anyone had even imagined that a foreign submarine would come all the way out here, when we never even had one of our own submarines dock. All of the guards on Rokkenjima, of which there were only about 30, stood at attention as the submarine docked.
イタリア軍なんて初めて見たぜ。なんでも事故か触雷で航行不能になったんだと。換気装置がやられて塩素ガスが換気できなくなったって聞いたぞ。中尉殿の話によると何か重要なものを運んでるって話だ。暗号変換器か新型エンジンなんかの設計図じゃないのか。俺は積み荷云々より上層部がまだここを覚えててくれたことの方が驚きだぜ。
後ろ宮、早く来い。貴様は通訳だろうが。
はい、中尉殿。
Well, at least we're... This is a very interesting new track. We're getting some military vibes in this one. Alright, where do we save? Save right here. So, you know, as far as we remember, it was about time to for Kinzo to reveal the truth to us, but if anything, we are just going back to his youthful past, especially with him, you know, supposedly serving in the military. Even though he doesn't want to, because the one project on Rokkenjima got like indefinitely suspended. So it's pretty interesting. We're right here. We're getting a lore dump about Rokkenjima during World War II or something. Anyway, next part we'll continue more of this, you know, lecture of the sort. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Have a good one.